This is the AdHero Podcast, the podcast that reveals marketing tips, trends, and techniques by industry experts, insiders, and influencers. For years, AdSymble has helped businesses develop and launch campaigns to amplify their message, establish authority, and earn their lion's share of the market. This podcast will help you design and supercharge your plan to make an impact with valuable lessons you can apply in your business today. To get more information or start now, visit adsemble.com. That's AdSemble.com. Let's get started.
Welcome to the AdHero Podcast. My name is Gino Giovanni.
And I am Matthew Olivieri.
And we are your Ad Heroes.
Back in his house, or I should say the Watchtower.
It's the Watchtower, our new Watchtower.
Gino, how's your summer been going so far?
You know, it's been going good. How about yours?
Not bad. I need to get into the movie theaters. I'm a little bit behind the game. I still haven't caught Thor yet. We were supposed to do that. Some technical difficulties came up. Wasn't able to go check that out just quite yet. But also, I have not seen the what's the other one? The Top Gun movie.
Oh,
I need to check that out. That's got a very high rating. People are really digging that movie. And if I'm not mistaken, there's like a few other big summer blockbusters coming out pretty soon, correct?
Yeah, I think so. But we missed a whole bunch of. I mean, I did check Doctor Strange 2 on video.
Were you a fan?
Yeah, actually, it was pretty good. Surprisingly enough, though, if you've seen Spider-Man 1, Sam Raimi, then you've pretty much seen Doctor Strange 2, as they're both movies directed by the same person who actually laid it out really similarly.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just saw a video about it on YouTube.
Yeah, there's well, speaking about videos, I want to take a quick shout out moment here to our friends that have been tuning into the AdHero podcast from all over the globe. We took a look at the analytics, and Gino, this is pretty remarkable. We have a growing listenership in countries such as Germany, Ireland, the UK, Indonesia, China, you name it, like all over the place, all over the world. So thank you to everybody who's been tuning into the AdHero podcast globally. And to show you guys a little bit of love, we cooked up a contest here in the AdHero podcast Watchtower. This is the easiest contest you'll ever participate in. All you have to do is literally go on any single platform where you tune into the AdHero podcast, because all of these platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, if you like watching the program on our YouTube channel, all of them allow you guys to put a comment. To enter this contest, all you need to do is leave a comment and say hello to us and let us know where you are watching or listening to the AdHero podcast. And we are going to randomly choose somebody who does that and send you guys a piece of swag along with a personally signed note from Gino and myself. Did we agree on a note, or is it a photo of us?
We agreed on a note.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
All right. Well, we'll save the photo for like another contest. Probably have to get some photos first before we start agreeing to send them out. Unless you guys like selfies, then we got plenty of those. But Gino, you're on point with this contest, right?
Yes, actually I am.
Oh man, we're starting to throw in the sound effects now. You guys got to watch out. We got more than Rasta horns around here. So that's the contest. Go on a platform where you tune in the AdHero podcast. Throw down a little hello from wherever you're tuning in from. Just give us a shout, and we will pick randomly one of you guys and send you some swag. Real fun way to say thank you. Gino, what else do you got for us in the A block?
Oh, yes. So, we have a very interesting show today. COVID-19 came and went. Now we are dealing with variants that just won't go away. But if you had a business that, lost money or didn't survive during the lockdowns, perhaps you were a victim of the summer of love when the rioting hit all across the country and the streets. Nevertheless, our show today has a guest who we think will inspire you to get back on your horse and continue on your entrepreneurial spirit. Or perhaps you did survive and you could pick up some extra tips. Either way, we think you're going to love it.
And that is because we have Simon Leslie, co-CEO of Inc. Global Travel Media, joining us here in the AdHero Watchtower. in the B block segment of the show. He's basically going to give us a rundown how he went from a business that generated $150 million down to zero due to the COVID pandemic, and now how he has basically breathed new life into that business and brought it back from the graveyard, and it's back thriving, living its best life. And he's a pretty cool guy. I really dig this. I really like this interview with Simon. You guys are going to have a great time with it. And just all around smart guy. He's going to give you some poignant tips that you can use today in your business if you are still rebounding and rebuilding from a post-COVID world pandemic. And speaking of those variants, Gino, why don't we go into the A block and give an update on one such variant?
Let's go into the A block. Okay, this is coming from Vox News, VOX, that is. BA.5. Now, look, all these these new variants got all these numbers all of a sudden, all these letters, so just bear with me, okay? This is why we're reporting it. BA.5 doesn't care that you just had COVID-19. The Omicron subvariant is tuned to evade immunity even from previous Omicron infections. States here that the pattern has become all too familiar. A new version of the SARS-CoV-2 virus emerged and begins to dominate new COVID-19 cases until it replaced by an even more contagious version of the virus. This year, subvariants of the Omicron variant of the virus had ruled cases in the U.S. The BA.1 subvariant stated that the Omicron wave, or started the Omicron wave. Then in April, BA.2 formed the majority of cases. By May, BA.2.12.1 took over. Now BA.5 is the new lead, triggering a rise in hospitalizations across the country. It may even be the most contagious version to date. That's what they said before with the last.
I feel like I just want to comment that this seems like a software update, but like in a bad way. It started off as like BA.1, and then it went to BA.12, and now we're at BA.version.5. I mean, are we going to keep going to the BA.10? Keep like download the latest software update, and which like, is typically a good thing, but in this case, it's a bad thing.
And like who comes on stage is like Bill Gates. Is like, okay, so we got this new variant now.
Right.
Okay, so Matthew, our country went through COVID-19, and technically, it hasn't gone away.
Right.
We went through sickness, some deaths, lockdowns, vaccine mandates, politics, and so forth.
Yeah.
My question to you, it's probably the biggest question I've ever asked you on the show, actually. But my question to you, yeah. So just get ready.
I plead the fifth.
As a business owner, and after overcoming all the challenges we went through, is if another lockdown occurs?
Yep.
Will the U.S. economy survive again and fight back to overcome losses, or are we just finished as a nation?
Well, we're not finished as a nation. That is definitely not the case. I think we learned a lot as a country the first go around through this. Mind you, it's not the first time that the country's gone through a pandemic. I think that it was 1900 or something like that. Was it smallpox or
and the Spanish flu?
Spanish flu. Thank you. But obviously, fast forward 100 years later, like quite a bit has changed technology-wise, the way we live our lives. So this was definitely a very steep learning curve. A lot of people were hurt very bad. Our company, the parent company of the AdHero podcast, adsemble.com, we took some very heavy losses, and, we had to maneuver. We had to get smart. We had to get lean. We had to be efficient. We had to keep our nose to the grindstone and keep innovating during that time. So no, is the country finished? No, but would it be disastrous for another massive pandemic to sweep the country? Absolutely. I think you would see even heavier losses than before because we're in a very fragile state right now. Like the country is I'm a big boxing guy, MMA boxing guy. And in a really good prize fight, you see one opponent take a big right hook to the face and kind of stumble back a little bit, but he's not down for the count. You see where I'm going with that, right, Gino? So my point being is like, we took a big right hook to the face in this last pandemic, but we're not down for the count. But we're stumbling around. We're trying to find our footing. We're trying to get back in the fight. If we take another big left uppercut or something like that from another pandemic that sweeps through the country, yeah, it could be very, very disastrous. I don't think we're counted out. I don't think we're knocked out of the match, of the fight, but we would definitely be like hitting the canvas, right? And then we'd have to do, kind of get up again. So what we need is a window of time where we can really get back on our feet soundly, rebuild as a country, rebuild as a global in the world. People in every country around the world has to be rebounding and rebuilding. And so I'm just going to say, don't be too quick to throw away your mask just yet. Don't be too quick to just start thinking everything's no problem. I mean, still be vigilant, still be disciplined, still be careful. Don't go out of your way to insert yourself in situations where, maybe you could get sick or something. You still have to be on your guard is what I'm saying. Right. So, I'm really happy that I don't have to wear a mask anymore. Like all the places around here, we don't have to wear a mask anymore. The mask mandate's gone. But I will sometimes still wear a mask voluntarily if I go into a crowded space. I don't know. Gino, how about yourself?
No.
Not at all.
I don't know. I've been in enough crowded spaces the last 2 years.
Okay.
It took me a year and a half to actually get an Omicron variant or the COVID variant Omicron, which lasted about 38 hours exactly in my body. And I was through with it. And according to Bill Gates, it's actually a stronger to have that than to have the jab. So I'm very well protected, apparently.
Okay. Well, how about this? To each their own. That's my personal belief. Yeah. Gino has his. You should have yours. Everyone's entitled to form their own opinion about how to protect themselves. But in answer to your question, I do think that the last thing we want right now as a country or any country wants is another sweeping pandemic. I think that'd be very bad.
I mean, I could say with like personal, like if we're getting into recommendations and stuff like that, I mean, hey, for me, vitamin D, zinc, they helped. And I tend to take that on a daily basis anyway. So with me getting sick, it's kind of like a rare thing. In my adulthood, that is. What about our guest? You mentioned about our guest in the teaser.
Yes. Simon Leslie, CEO of Inc. Global media company, does various different advertising things, very much in line with what we do here at AdSemble. And he is going to come on the B Block and give us a rundown of exactly what happened to his business and how he partially feels potentially lucky that he went through what he went through and how he leveraged his situation to have this tremendous comeback. It's a really engaging interview. We're excited to bring it to you. So stay tuned after these messages, and we're going to get into the interview with Simon Leslie right here on the AdHero podcast.
The recession is in the news. Some talking heads think America is already in a recession, which is 2 economic periods of no growth. What do you do with marketing your business? Pull back, or do you take advantage of the downturn, and how? Here to help us out is Simon Leslie, founder and chief executive of Inc., a global travel media company. For over 30 years, Simon has dedicated his career to creating travel publications that have been held by anyone who's flown on a plane in the last few decades. And the author of the book, Equanimity. Excuse me. Almost. I'm sorry. You got to help me out with that one. The Diary of a CEO in Crisis. He also is known for his fighting back strongly as Inc. took a $150 million loss to zero during the pandemic. Simon, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I know I should have called that book something different.
I apologize.
That's a tongue twister. That's a tongue twister.
I was trying last night to get it. I was like, well, I almost got it. So the world's falling apart. China's growing more significant, and countries are beginning to rebel against their government. How does Simon Leslie keep his business brand relevant in a down economy?
I love a down economy. I'm going to challenge you because I think China is making a mess of their own economy. You know, they've made a mess of COVID. They're still in lockdown. Their COVID issue is far worse than anybody else's. So by being clever, I think they're being a bit stupid, actually. But let's see what happens. The problem is that there's still too much goods coming out of China, which is causing delays and price increases for the rest of us. And I think the world is it's an interesting place right now. If everybody keeps talking us into a recession, we'll get there much quicker. Everywhere I look, especially in my world right now, is the airports are telling the airlines to stop booking flights because they can't cope with the amount of traffic coming through their terminals, which for me is music to my ears. You know, after 2 years of having very little traffic and very little business, right now what's happening is regrowth at a pace we haven't seen since 2001. And I think that's why I'm optimistic about the future. Recession, depression, whatever comes along. And I've sailed through a couple of these, 2001, 2007, 2012. You know, if you took all of those three together, times it by 10, COVID was 10 times worse.
Wow.
COVID was the only time in my business career that I couldn't actually make any money because the ability for me to do business was gone. Every time there was a recession or a depression before, people were still going on their holidays. People still got on airplanes. So that doesn't scare me. As long as we don't go back into lockdown, I think the future is incredibly rosy because the demand is just far outweighing supply.
And that's incredibly well said, Simon. And going through that transformation process of grossing that many millions of dollars down to zero, and having to rebuild from scratch all over again, how did you handle that both personally and professionally, you know, in such a short span of time? How did you kind of wake up each day and face that challenge?
It was tough. I think at the beginning, we didn't really know what to expect. We didn't know it was going to go on for 25 months. Probably if we knew it was going to go on for 25 months, I wouldn't have done anything. I would have hung my boots up and said, see you later, I'll be back in 2 years. But it was always sort of 6-12 weeks. You know, this is going to be 6-12 weeks. And then it was another 6-12 weeks. And then it was another 6-12 weeks. So I think it was just a process of, okay, how do you get through the next 6 to 12 weeks? And I reached out to a lot of people, and I got a lot of speakers who came into my business, and we did it basically. It was nearly a daily talk from some of the most inspirational people in motivation, in health, well-being, kindness, negotiating, brain science. And Wim Hof doing breathing exercises with us. You know, I really did use my Rolodex and reached out to lots of people. And I'll never forget the one thing that Alison Levine said. Alison Levine was the first female to climb Everest. And she said, look, when she was crossing the Antarctic, it was all white. There was nothing. You couldn't see. Everything was white. All it was just one foot in front of the other. And some days, you know, you thought you'd gone forward, but actually you'd gone back a mile. And that's how it felt. You know, some days we felt like we were making progress, and other days we felt like we were going backwards. But it was just, okay, one more step. Let's get through to the next weekend, and let's get through to the next weekend and see what we're going to do. And it was a horrible period. Some people have asked me, you know, with hindsight, what would you do differently? And I always say, probably not very much, actually. I think a lot of the behaviors, a lot of the decisions I took were okay. I might have taken a few of them a little bit earlier. I might have dealt with some of the people a little bit differently. Certainly the ones that gave me a hard time.
Would you mind just elaborating on that point right there? Are you speaking on personnel? Are you speaking on clients that were refusing to pay, vendors that were trying to come after you for their payments? What do you mean by that? The whole lot of it?
Yes, and yes. Yeah, I mean, some of the staff seem to think it was my fault that there was a COVID, and it was my fault that they couldn't earn any money, and it was my fault that they couldn't work. Some of our clients thought it was my fault that they took our magazine off the plane without thinking about the consequences of it, and some of our clients thought it was my fault that there was nobody flying. So, yes, it was all my fault. It was all my responsibility, and I just had to do the best I could with all of it, with all of them. I think some of them I tried to be good and do the right thing by everybody. We kept everybody whole through to about July 2020. So, for about 4 months, we kept the whole company in place. And after that, then when we realized it was getting longer and harder, then we had to start making some slightly more brutal decisions.
Tell us about your book and where can they find it? Your latest book.
Well, what I started to do was, or what I started to realize, I think more than do, was that the people who were giving the talks to my team were really starting to inspire me. And unconsciously, I was taking on their messages. We sort of set up a Zoom, and there was about 150 people on these Zoom calls every day. And someone had come in, and I had the likes of Chris Voss, Tim Story, Tim Grover, Jordan Belfort, Wim Hof, Alison Levine, Heather Monahan, lots of people who are used to giving out great talks. And they'd come in and they'd talk about what was going on that week, what was going on in the news, how they were feeling, how they were dealing with the situation. Some of the health and well-being guys would talk about diet and some of the medicines, because there was so much news going around about, if you take this one, if you take that one, if you take zinc, if you take, whatever the flavor of the day was, we'd talk about it. And I suddenly started realizing that as I'm taking the notes, and then we videoed every one of these talks, and I started to watch them back, and I started to realize, actually, there's so many amazing nuggets in here. At some point, I'm going to put all this down into a book. So I just started to document it. And the book is basically I kept a diary from February 2020 through to December 2021 of everything that happened in that period. And then each of the conversations with these guys, I turned them into, I analyzed what they said, what effect it had on me, what decisions I'd made differently to go about my life. And what did I do to change my life? I thought, one, I'm not going through a crisis without getting something out of it. I'm not going to go back to the same way of running a business. I'm not going to go back to the same way of behaving. And I think in that period, if you throw everything into the business, remember maybe you don't know this, but before we went in December 19, we had 36 in-flight magazines. We were the dominant player in the in-flight magazine business. Our nearest competitor had 4. So that's United, American, Virgin, Etihad, Singapore, right across the world. Wherever you got on an aeroplane, people would send me photos of the masthead, said, I'm reading one of your magazines. Anybody who ever met me would send me a picture from time to time saying, I'm reading one of your mags. And then we came out of it with 3 magazines. We had a small television network that we'd invested in, and because CNN decided to abort their television network at the airport, we managed to take it over. So we turned our small television network into a slightly bigger television network, and now we went about, instead of dominating the in-flight magazine space, we dominated the airport TV space. So we have our network playing, which is called Reach TV, which plays at 90 airports across America and Canada, soon to be in Africa, soon to be in Asia. So we've built an amazing television business, really out of nothing, and through the worst pandemic all our countries have ever seen. So I really did go about reinventing both the business, creating a transformation of the business, creating a transformation of me. I was always this cheeky chappy, but I'm now minus the imposter syndrome, minus the denial phase, minus all the weaknesses that I might have had going into it, and also knowing how to deal with difficult situations, knowing how to deal with difficult clients, difficult staff, raising money in a short period of time when nobody was lending money. So doing things that most people would have said it was impossible at that time. Equanimity. It's on Amazon, Kindle, Audible. I mean, the guy that's narrated it for me is a thespian with the English National Opera, and I just think he and I sat down and we I said, look, this is what I'm not. I hate reading and I hate listening to my own voice. So sometimes I can hear myself here. So I apologize, but I said, this is what I want to do. I want you to capture my frustration in this, coming through this book. And people who have picked it up on Audible said to me, he's really captured it beautifully. He's captured the depression, the emotions, the highs, the lows, everything.
Fascinating. And the book is called again, which
Equanimity.
Equanimity. And people can pick this up on Amazon. Where can people pick this up at?
It's on Amazon, Kindle, Audible. I mean, the guy that's narrated it for me is a thespian with the English National Opera, and I just think he and I sat down and we I said, look, this is what I'm not. I hate reading and I hate listening to my own voice. So sometimes I can hear myself here. So I apologize, but I said, this is what I want to do. I want you to capture my frustration in this, coming through this book.
Wow.
And people who have picked it up on Audible said to me, he's really captured it beautifully. He's captured the depression, the emotions, the highs, the lows, everything.
Simon, do you feel that most business owners that might be listening to this episode and hearing your journey of going from 150 million down to zero and having to rebuild back up in such a short amount of time, do you feel most of them are probably in a similar boat in terms of, like, maybe before COVID, how much planning they thought they had to do, and then COVID was kind of like the great reset and kind of like an eye-opening thing, like, wow, maybe I should have 6 months of runway saved away instead of only 12 weeks, or maybe I shouldn't be so quick to hire a bunch of staff until I see what kind of flushes out. Like, just having gone through this process, what's your, and all these great speakers that came by from all their different backgrounds and expertises, what's your overall takeaway there? You think most business owners need to kind of pause and kind of reflect on what they really need to do to run a successful business?
I think we had about 10 or $12 million of cash, and we burned through the lot of it, and we had to still go and find more.
Wow.
I think, listen, if you're running a business, you should always have cash. Cash is king. Most people think, oh yes, we're turning over this or we're doing this. Even profit is vanity. If you're not getting paid, one of my superpowers is getting paid quickly. It's getting people to pay us for what.
I like that. AdHero superpower. That's great.
Just get the money in the bank.
Right.
Once the money's in the bank, you can start thinking about what you're going to spend it on. But it is vital. Right. And I think I've just invested in a startup, and I was talking to the owner, and he was telling me, I don't want to spend too much money. I said, look, you've raised the money, spend it, do it. If you run out, we'll go borrow some more. There's always plenty more money, but there's only a certain amount of time. There's only a certain amount of opportunity, and I think you've got to take advantage of your business when the opportunity's there.
Interesting.
If you don't do that, and the thing that I really do think is really important, and if anyone's listening, just listen to this with in the VIP seat. That's the seat where you really listen, not pretend to listen. Really listen to this. there are opportunities everywhere.
Mm.
Right now, there are opportunities in front of me. And because my head is up my backside or I'm too distracted, I am missing those opportunities.
Wow.
Everywhere you go, every person you talk to, there is an opportunity, or they know somebody who's got an opportunity, but they just don't tell you because they don't think you're open to it. So when you are open and you're aware and you're always looking for opportunities, you'll be surprised how many opportunities you find.
Wow.
I like that. You know, I was watching, like I told you off the air, I was watching the interview with you and Jordan Belfort, and you know, speaking of getting cash and getting paid, you mentioned something I thought was very interesting, and it's something that we used to do here at AdSimble actually, which was the client could pay after their campaign. And what you said was that sometimes it takes a year or a couple of years to get money from a client, but they always pay, and it's typically because of like governments and lots of other things that are in the way. So I kind of wanted you to touch upon that and give like a little more like clarification, because I know I'm butchering it, so I apologize for that.
No, I think I was talking about the Greek tourism board or the Mexico tourism board. You know, they sometimes take a year and a half to pay. We know we're always going to get paid. But for any normal client, I want to get paid today. If it's government, you know, sometimes I'm a little bit more lenient. It is vital that you do the work, because I was just having this conversation with one of my colleagues just before I started this. We're talking about performance. And he said, look, we need to prove to clients that the campaign worked. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, we've got to prove that the campaign worked. I said, but what's a timescale? He goes, well, within the 12 weeks. I said, well, what happens if someone buys in 20 weeks? What happens if someone sees the advert today and is inspired but doesn't buy it until next year? That doesn't mean it didn't work. It just means it didn't work in the timescale they set us, which is unrealistic. You know, my favorite advert, which I had on my wall, right? When I was 19 years old in my flat, my first flat, little studio flat. I don't think I ever used the kitchenette bit of it, but in there was a Sunseeker campaign which said, "Many dream but few achieve," and I torn it out the newspaper as a kid and went, "I love that, and I want a Sunseeker." It took me 40 years to get that Sunseeker. Before, and I never had it very long. I think, you know, there's only 2 days that you enjoy when you get a boat. It's the day you get it and the day you sell it. But you know what? That campaign worked. That campaign worked for me, right? It didn't work for them, but maybe it did. Maybe they were playing the long game. Too many people today are playing a really short game. They want return on investment. They want return on ad spend, and it's stupid. You know, it's like, I always say to them, how long are you in business for? They said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, are you in business for 13 weeks or 13 years? I said, I've been doing this 30 years and I still don't know what I'm doing. So if you think we're going to be able to succeed in 13 weeks, you're crazy.
Simon, we spent here at AdSimble a lot of time during COVID scrutinizing over processes that we had in place, and analyzing where we could be more efficient. You know, obviously, like, you know, we're trying to stay in business, stay afloat, right? We're trying to, like, and there's so much downtime that we had that ability to kind of reevaluate things that we had kind of put on the shelf, whether that was a marketing strategy or a new product that we were thinking about rolling out, whatever. Did you guys in that time of mounting the comeback, did you personally kind of reevaluate like how you could scale the process of bringing new clients on board, expanding the new TV network, things like that? I mean, was there kind of an iterative process of like, okay, let's since we're starting over from ground zero, let's do some things differently so the business can be even more fortified, you know, as we roar back here? What would you say about that?
I said I started on me. What did I want me to look like? What did I want my role to be? What did I want the business to look like? And then I said, okay, how are we going to go about that? So today, if an advertiser comes to us today, I can give you video, I can give you magazines, I can give you Wi-Fi sponsorship. I can reach the traveler at any part of their journey, anywhere in the world. probably 5 million people will go through an airport today, and we've got an ability to communicate with most of those, right? So that's the product that I've created now. I've then said, okay, who do we need to sell that? How are we going to sell it? Who are we going to sell it to? And then we started to work it backwards. And once you start with the end in mind, and then you just re-engineer it, there were people who worked for me before that I can't give a job to now because I just don't believe that they could do what I'm doing today. Because I know the sort of person that will work well with me today, and that's the sort of person I'm trying to find right now. I'm trying to find as many people. I've worked out I've got 2 jobs right now. One is to find things to buy or inventory to buy, companies to buy, and the second one is to attract talent who want to come and work with us, who want to come here, make lots of money. If that's one of their most important things, make money, be successful, be creative, work with some of the best brands in the world. That's all I do anymore. Someone says, what do you do? That's the 2 things I need to do and need to be world class at.
That's great. That's great. Simon, if someone is interested in learning more about you in ink and wants to get one of your books, how can they do so?
Well, all my books, there's 3 books now, all on Amazon. And I wrote There's No F in Sales, which is, you think equanimity is a bad title. You write a book called There's No F in Sales, and within 6 months, there is literally no F in sales. I like that. You've got to be very careful what you put on a book cover. And then in the middle of it, I wrote this little fable called White Belt Thinking, which took a lot of stuff we talked about today into a story. It's just a story of a young kid who was down on his luck, who goes on to become a world champion. Nice. So it's a fun story. I'm trying to get it into schools because I really do think that my kids are giving it to their friends and they're like, oh, this is the best book I've ever read. Just lots of things about kindness, gratitude, appreciation, the law of attraction. It only works if you do.
Nice.
Simon, thank you for coming on the program. You can catch Simon back next week for our bonus episode on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and many other additional podcast platforms. We'll be back after this. Okay, great. Welcome back to the AdHero podcast. Matthew, what are your final thoughts on today's interview with Simon Leslie?
That was so many nuggets were in there. I was like scribbling down on my notepad over here while he was talking, like different things he was bringing up. Most notably, the amazing way that as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, you need to stay agile, you need to stay humble, you need to closely evaluate your operating position and your processes. We spend a lot of time here at AdSimble doing that, Gino, right? You can testify to that. And, the other nugget there that I really liked that he shared was with regards to salespeople having to, like, how he likes to, like, kind of build people up from the ground up, as opposed to, hiring big heavy hitters right out of the gate and then having them fall short of what he's paying them. Just a lot of interesting nuggets in there. But, above all, what I take away from him is resiliency. If you're going to be in this game, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to be resilient. I'd say that's the number one takeaway. What's your thoughts, Gino?
Oh, 100%. And then in regards to, first of all, just real quick, the fighting chance we've seen in the past, Americans, we just have it in our DEA that we will not give up and that we will fight. And then regards to the salesman, I've seen the best salespeople come in who didn't know a dang thing about sales. They get coached up and then they outdo the people who actually have a long resume of sales. So I'm really glad that Simon brought that up. Glad to see that similar minds. And can't wait to have him back someday.
It's going to be really good to stay in touch with that guy and continue to follow his story. And, hey, who knows? Maybe we'll end up doing some business together. That'd be great as well.
Right. That's right. Speaking of follow us online with social media at AdSimble. On our YouTube page, give us a like, a subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified about all future AdHero premieres. And as always, don't forget to leave a comment or question below and let us know those thoughts, people. We want to hear what you want to say. We want to hear what you're thinking. Also, check us out on Rumble. Okay, we're new on Rumble. We got like a little bit of a fan base there. We want to grow it. We like starting off from scratch. So let's just keep that momentum going, everybody. For inquiries and more information about outdoor advertising, visit our site, adsymbol.com. Find the AdHero podcast on all major podcast platforms. Thank you for tuning in to the AdHero podcast. My name is Gino Giovanni.
And I'm Matthew Livieri.
Signing out.